hello, and happy solstice to everyone. I am Mystic Michelle, your intuitive mystic wisdom reader, and I am coming here today for the solstice reading. But before we get started, I wanted to go into a little bit about what I'll be doing this year for my solstice celebration and give you a little information about the solstice ceremony. So for the solstice, they celebrated this not just in one day, but over a series of days. This is where we get the 12 days of Christmas coming in. That was something that I always was very curious of why we had this 12 days of Christmas. And a lot of that comes down to this celebration that they would have from starting after the solstice into Yule and throughout into the new year. And so they celebrated the 12 days of Christmas doing festivals and fires and dancing and singing, lots of food, drinks, ale, all of this kind of stuff to bring in and welcome back the sun. Because the solstice time period is the marker, it's a halfway marker between winter time. So this is the point where it's the shortest day of the year and the sun is going to be returning. So each day is going to get a little bit brighter as we go on. And lots of different cultures over the world celebrate the solstice in their own traditions, in their own ways. But a major way that they all celebrated was actually by bringing in different evergreens into their houses and making wreaths out of them to symbolize the welcoming of the sun god back in and bringing strength. A lot of the evergreens actually hold a lot of medicine in them. And so it was thought traditionally that if you held that over your door and it was a praise to the god and the sun god and his health for returning to the next springtime. So a lot of the traditions that we have, if you've been following any type of pagans or Wiccans, there's a lot of what the Christmas traditions that we celebrate today that are originally from the time period of the Druid, Celtic, pagan time period, predating Christianity. And so a lot of these traditions were actually kept and brought forward through the church to help celebrate and to help bring the people who like to celebrate that into the church so that they would still have their parties, because they couldn't stop them. They were still doing it even though the church didn't want them to. So they started to correlate a lot of the Christian holidays with the pagan traditions so that way they could keep going forward and have more followers. One of the things I found really interesting when I was doing some research about the solstice is that the solstice is, like I've said, the return of the sun god. And so when Christ got brought into the celebration for Christmas, the return of the sun god switched from being sun, S-U-N, to sun, S-O-N. So the hero being Jesus and the representation of the prosperity that he was going to bring and did bring to the world. And so for my traditions this year, my ceremony, I think it changes a little bit each year of what I'm going to be doing as I learn and grow and figure out what my traditions are that aligns with my ancestral lineage. And so today, what I'm going to share with you is my candle that I have here and these herbs. Now, the candle was actually brought in Scottish, Wales, and Irish tradition as a light that they would put in the window sills to welcome in Joseph and Mary and help light their way, and know that if they were to appear at their door, that they would be welcomed in. So people would put candles in the window sills to show that welcoming to the Holy Family. And so this practice kept going throughout tradition, and there are a lot of different practices that are going into what that candle represents. And so one of the things that I was reading and researching, I don't know if I started doing this book, Rekindling the Celtic Spirit, which is a beautiful book that not only gives history and it's written down so it can't change, but also gives you directions and meditations on how to celebrate in these time periods. And so the candle tradition would be to actually turn out all the lights, go into meditation, and see what it feels like to be in that dark and to be in that still and that quietness. And they would have everybody talk about what that feeling was. And then as you light the candle, you bring about the wishes that you have for the new year. And so for this year, my candle, what I've done is I've actually written down the different things that I hope that I am manifesting for my 2024. And so I will start by lighting this candle. Now, normally I would use matches to start my candles, but this candle's gone down a little bit, and for the fastness of this video, I wanted to just make it a little quicker. So we're gonna cheat today. So I'm calling in the light and the fire and the return of the sun, welcoming them back in. May my wishes go out into this universe and be brought to me this year. Now I will be lighting this candle for at least 3 hours a day over the next 3 days. That is what I've been called to do, so that is what I'm going to be doing. In my research, it was really interesting because I have all this rosemary, and in my research, I was like, that doesn't seem like a very Christmassy type herb, but I actually found out in my research with my book they actually used rosemary, and rosemary is a symbol of knowledge, and also it brings in a lot of protection. And so this year I'm going to be sprinkling rosemary out around my house for that protection, that wisdom, and the knowledge. I've actually mixed in a couple other herbs from that were older, that were passed down to me in a little Christmas ornament, that I felt it was time to honor them and let them go. So they'll be part of that. There's some rose and some red clover and some calendula all in this mix. So I will be spreading that out, and I will probably also be doing some smudging of this as well. So that is what I'll be doing this year for this solstice ceremony. I'm bringing you the solstice today on the 22nd of December instead of the 21st. And that is actually because I follow Anthony Murphy, who's over in Ireland, wonderful historian of the mythic legends. If you're not following him, you totally should. He is an amazing human being. He does all the math for all the holidays, because a long time ago we didn't have calendars, so they did things by the moon. And not only by the moon, but they would take the time from the last holiday to which would have been Samhain, into the Imbolc, which will be happening in February. And you take that, you find the middle ground, and you go to the next full moon. And he does all the math. He's very good at that. So I'm very trusted that this year the solstice is actually happening on the 22nd this year. So that's what I have for you as far as information. As I learn, you'll learn, and we'll keep growing this information. So let's see what the cards have to say for this solstice time period. Sovereignty. The sword. Braille 5. The round table. Stone 10. And with stone 10, we have spear 10. We have Kava Kava returning. And Kava Kava, with Kava Kava comes transformation. And for our healing focus, it's family and tribe. So for our first card today, we have sovereignty coming in upside down. Now, sovereignty, this is the holy realm that you hold within yourself. This is you and your standards and who you are and how you shine your light. Right now, this is coming in upside down, and that is just to bring awareness that, and what I'm hearing mostly is that you're hiding who you are and what you're doing, that you have taken refuge in not shining and being the person that is staying in the background. And so that is going to be a big focus and a big draw for something for you to look at this coming season of the solstice, of how to allow yourself to shine regardless of what anybody else is asking of you. what anybody else's words are, not allowing the people around you to take away that holy refuge that you have within yourself, because we all have this divine ruler in us. And over the years, what happens is we allow other people to diminish what that looks like of their opinions, or trauma has ensued, and so we tend to kind of sleep back into the background, not wanting to be seen, not wanting to be heard. And so you're denying yourself that peace, that inner peace within, by holding yourself back. So after sovereignty comes in, we have the sword hollow. Sword hollow is coming upside down. So here's the awareness. So here's another awareness for you to keep in mind. The sword is the representation of the truth and the knowledge that you hold. And so that these two coming in upside down, there's that backing away. You know things, but you're allowing other people to disrespect you and to take advantage of you and to put you in your place. And it is time to step out of that. It is time to wield this sword and hold it in such a manner that people around you won't even try to test what your knowledge is, because you're not going to put up with it. And what I'm really hearing too is this: if you've got fools around you that are belittling your knowledge and belittling your truth, you just simply tell them, okay, you can have your delusion. You don't have to say that out loud, because sometimes I don't like it when you say that out loud. But if you come to that energy and just end up being quiet, they don't take from you then. You can hold your knowledge. We come in this lifetime in this belief that we have to defend everything that people say about us with knowledge, because if we don't defend ourselves, then they're going to think they won. Well, what's wrong with letting them think they won? Is it really hurting you? We don't want to use our voice of who we are to drop down to their level. We want to stay in our level with our peace, with our sovereignty, with our holy being. So this is really the opportunity, it is really asking you to stop arguing with people who refuse to see who you are. It's not going to do anything to you. It's actually going to help you stand in your own power by not trying to defend yourself to other people. When you start defending who you are to other people, you start questioning. You have to start figuring out why you are the way you are, which makes you doubt who you are. But if you just stand in this knowing and be like, okay, you can have your beliefs, that's fine. There's a power that comes with that. There's a reclaiming of your holy self that comes with taking that back and by stepping back. I listened to a Grand Ascended Master speak, and there was a story that he once told me, or told the group that was listening in this meeting. And it goes like this. An elephant and a donkey were arguing about what color the sky was. The elephant believed the sky to be blue, knowing full-heartedly that the sky was blue. The donkey demanded that the sky was green and that the elephant was crazy and that he didn't know what he was talking about. So their arguing went on. And so they took the matter to the king. And so in they go to see the king, and the elephant says, "Dear king, this donkey believes the sky is green when we all know it's blue." And the donkey looks at the king and he says, "Dear king, you know the sky is green. You know I am right. Like this, the sky is green. There's no other color." So the king takes a moment and contemplates. And he says, "You're right, donkey. The sky is green." And the elephant's bewildered. Why would you tell him that the sky is green when it is so clearly blue? And so the ruling came down to this. "You are right, donkey. You may go. But elephant, you are going to be punished." And the elephant is outraged. How could you punish me when he doesn't know what's going on? And so the donkey happily trots out. And the elephant is still going on. "How can I be the one that's in trouble when I know that the sky is blue? You know the sky is blue." The king calmly looks at him and he says, "You never win, and you will always suffer when you choose to argue with a jackass." So keep that in mind when people are trying to tell you that you're wrong in your knowing. Are you arguing with a jackass and creating your own suffering? Think about it. So now that we know not to argue with a jackass, we're going to go into this Grail 5 card. And this Grail 5 card is a representation of the journey that you are on. And this is a sign of struggle. So as you're stepping into this knowing and this strength that you have, you're going to have a lot of conflicting ideas that are happening within you. You're going to have that conditioning and that training that other people have put you through, that questioning and that doubt because other people have made you believe that you do not know what you're talking about. This battle is going to rage on in your mind. And so the message here with this card is to know that even through the choppiest seas, at the end is a smooth sea, and that you will be able to sail smoothly through. So don't allow your search for yourself through coming back into yourself and finding that kingship within you, that holy being within you. Don't allow that treachery of that mind that's confusing you and trying to trip you up because you're breaking through old trainings and old conditionings. Don't allow that to consume you. Recognize it, acknowledge it, and learn to let it go. Let those stories go. Because they're not who you are. Your truth is coming through. Your truth is what you know deep down inside, and it's so clear that there is no question about it. But when you start trying to stand in it, you're going to have those conditionings come in that are going to try to tell you that that's not correct. And so just weather the storm. It's going to be okay. But that all comes back to you standing in your truth of who you are. And that is the most important thing. During this time of the winter solstice, there's this feeling of loss. You know, as the sun goes down, there's this feeling of hopelessness as things turn and as stories end and as the new year begins and these new hopes spring forward. So it's gonna feel not very good. It's gonna feel wrong to stand in that sovereignty of yourself. But you have strength. And as the sun starts becoming back just a little bit more each day, so will you. So hold on to that. So we've got the next card coming in, and it's the Round Table. And the round table is coming in reverse. So here's another awareness. This is really a call to action for you to start leaning on the counsel that you have, both in the physical world and in the spiritual realm. That knowledge that you hold is in your DNA, and those who truly know you and truly trust and support you will help you when things get a little bit rocky, when things are going crazy, when you don't feel like you're worthy of this sovereignty and of this space. There's a grip of people out there that will support you. And if you don't have any outside, like any people that you trust around you, it's time to start talking to that spirit council around you. Seek out healers, seek out that healing, because there's a perspective in these situations that is needing to be looked at, and the strength that's needed, that you need to have, be given to you from somebody else. And that sounds really weird, but that somebody else doesn't have to necessarily be a physical person. It can actually be those ancestors that are supporting you, the spirit guides, your walk besides those people. They're here for you and they want to help you. And it's really important to start separating yourself in your troubles of what you're going through. Start stepping back and finding the other perspective. And if you can't do that for yourself, that's where your friends, your spirit council, other healers, therapists, somebody is there. They will help you. Where they're going to be able to help you detach from that story and detach some of those feelings so that you can look at the whole picture instead of just trying to focus in on and be ruled by your feelings. Because a lot of the times, especially if you're going through it with people who are family members or loved ones or ex-partners, a lot of the times we get so focused on our own emotional feelings that we're too close to the subject. And so we get wrapped up in our own delusions that have been created because of all these other things that have happened to us and all these other traumas. And so it's very important, this call to action, for you to take a step back, get strength, get perspective from other people around you or your spirit council. Meditation. I probably say this every reading. Meditation is key here to really start figuring out how to stop those feelings from overriding what you actually know about the situation. Because it may not actually be what you think it is. It's just that the emotions are running so high within you that you can't separate what the full story is. And that's pulling you down, and it's not allowing you to stand in your sovereignty or your truth. Okay, so I'm going to kind of do these last two cards together because I'm really getting the sense that this is the timing. So everything that I've been talking about as far as finding your sovereignty, escaping into that sovereignty of knowing who you are instead of holding yourself in the background, really comes down to this timing. And we've got the stone 10 and the spear 10 coming in. And so the spear in this deck, stone is the winter time, spear is the springtime. And so what I'm really seeing is a timeline here, which, how appropriate, going from the solstice into embolic, is this time that you're going to be really focusing in on this need to find the stories within you, finding that knowledge within you, the true stories, not the ones that other people gave you, but your stories, that stuff that's woven in your DNA, that stuff that you know to be true, that stuff that holds your sovereignty, holds your truth, your voice, and seeing it from a new perspective. That's what this inner time of reflection is going to be, is looking in, going into your tower, creating a safe place for yourself to receive that knowledge. And the Spirit 10 card is really that it's not the end of the journey, but the start of the journey, the reawakening. This is the time period where you're going to be able to take that knowledge out of the tower and start bringing it forward in this prosperity, this wisdom that you're going to be holding. It's that venturing in, and so you're venturing in with the stone 10, and then come springtime during the embolic season, you're going to be starting to venture out, starting to bring that forward. And so it talked about how your sovereignty card is this, like, oh, you're hiding yourself. It's not in hiding away from people. So this time period isn't for you to just go all over people with who you are. This is really learning who you are and standing in it. And so taking that time right now during the solstice to find out what that is, so that way when we come into that time of the embolic in the springtime, you can stand in your sovereignty. You can hold your sword, so that way you have the strength, the wisdom, and the fight, so that when you come out back into the world and back to around people who might test you, you won't give in. You will stand true to who you are. So be patient with yourself. It's going to take some time. It's a daily practice, but it is so beneficial to create that daily practice for yourself. Okay, so for our 2 herbal healing messages for the time of the solstice, we had Kava Kava come in, and I'm going to pronounce this super wrong because this is an herb that comes from Brazil and it's not one that I normally work with, but Jaragon Sacha. These are our 2 herbs. And so we've got the Kava Kava, which is community. So a lot of this is coming down, a lot of this reading is in regards to the community that you have around you and reaching out towards that community. But these 2 healing herbs are actually coming in with a warning, and the Kava Kava card comes in with an awareness that there is a disconnection in the community that you have created. There are people that are holding you down and not in your sovereignty. And I'm really getting that this is more along the lines of a family member that is, I'm going to say, it's this overall feeling of someone that it kind of looks down on you. You're the younger sibling kind of feeling, someone who feels like they've always had to protect you, and so they're continuing to protect you, and in doing so they're actually creating this disconnect because they have created this idea of who you are based on how they want to take care of you, but that's not helpful. It's not good for either one of you. So we've got this card coming in, this other herb, and I went and looked at it. I actually went and looked it up because I'm not very familiar with it. I mainly focus my herbal practice on things that I can grow within my own backyard. So going and looking at this plant, this Jaragon Sacha is a plant that they use to actually ward off venom. So it's an anti-venom. So they use it for snake bites, spider bites, all these different kinds of things. And so this herb is really coming in as a transformation And the transformation, along with this Kava Kava card and the community coming in, is, I'm just going to say, it's time to cut them out, babe. It's time to stop trying to get them to see who you are. It's time to just step back and walk away and find that community that supports you and lean on them instead. The transformation that you're going to experience, this is like a warning, if you keep allowing this person in your life, what's going to happen is you're just going to keep dimming your light. It's time to stop dimming your light. It is time for you to shine brightly in who you are. And if they can't accept it, they don't deserve to be in your life. And with this card coming in with community, what I'm really seeing is that they aren't accepting it. It's not going to change. The only way you're going to get to accept it is to actually get them to accept it, is to actually cut them out. I'm just going to go into the family and tribe card here. This card here is asking you to start healing yourself from those wounds that your family has created for you. And that family can be blood, that family could be made, but there is someone out there that you know them, you know who it is, you know exactly who I'm talking about, that is making waves for you and is doing it in a way that is harmful to your being. They are not allowing you to represent yourself as you are, because they want to keep you in the box of who they think you are. And so if you do not start to recognize, if you do not start to cut those cords and break those ties with them, it's going to end up being really destructive for you. It's going to be very unsettling, and things are going to start blowing up around you if they're not already. In this family and tribes, we put so much stock in family, in this obligation to our family. It's obligation that blood is thicker than water. My brain just went, well, water makes blood real thin real fast. And so when you're creating this toxin, when you're purifying yourself from these people, the blood gets really thin when you start putting pure things back into you, and water is pure. And so that's where my brain just went to. But there's this real need for you to start cutting them out. If they cannot respect you in the way that you respect you, and they won't allow you to respect yourself in the way you know how to respect yourself, if there's nothing you can do that will make them happy, it's time to walk away. You can do that in whatever manner that you feel is best for you. You can talk to them about it. You don't even have to say it's forever. It's just right now, they're not a safe place for you. They're not a safe place for you to start standing in your own right. And so if you needed permission to cut those ties, this is your permission. Use this time of the winter as the sun's coming back in. Use these last few months of the solstice, use the solstice and the last few months of winter to really hone in and start releasing that obligational feeling you have towards these family members. It's not necessary anymore. Let it go. Because you deserve to stand in peace of who you are. No one gets to tell you that what you're doing is wrong. and being true to who you are. As long as you're doing things for the highest good of yourself, how can that be wrong? And if you need support, there's so many people out there. There's so many healers. There's therapists. There's, I want to call them rent-a-parents that you can turn to. You can turn to me. I'll sit with people. I have sessions where I sit with people and just listen to them. Let go of everything that is on their minds. There's people out there to help you. And so really use this time to come back into you, because you deserve to feel worthy, and you deserve peace, and you deserve love, and you deserve happiness, and you deserve an abundant, enthusiastic life. Period. So I hope that you're able to get something from this reading today, and that it struck something in you that will be beneficial for your growth throughout this season between the solstice and embolic. If you need anyone in your life, feel free, or if you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me, leave me some comments, or you can go to my website, www.mysticwisdomhealing.com. I've got lots of different ways to contact me if you need somebody. There are so many people out there that are put here on this planet to help you regain who you are, and that will support you in being who you are. So don't be scared to ask for help. You'd be surprised at what can happen with that. So I hope you have a beautiful solstice. And always, as always, happy healing. And I'll see you back here for the new moon reading, the full moon reading on December 27th.